Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 26, 17 Death, Ray 1. The sword's edge cleaved through the void, splitting the illusionary barrier set up by the boundless sphere. Instantly, his vision cleared again, and everything in the sea returned to reality. The true form of the boundless sphere appeared before my eyes, a huge black sphere covered with 100,000 cold, merciless eyes. Every eye emanated an aura of death. They seemed to be watching Zhang Yi, as if every ray of light could pierce his soul and destroy his will. However, Zhang Yi did not hesitate at all. Even though I know it's fake, you really disgusted me. So, you damn thing, watch me smash your dog head in? Zhang Yi's eyebrows shot up. This time, he was truly enraged. The core furnace of his demonic armor was burning fiercely, and a crimson Songyuan clan energy crystal was stuffed into the furnace, where it quickly ignited. Rumble. The demon god armor of the end erupted with a dazzling light in that instant, and streaks of crimson light cracked across its surface, as if resonating with his soul. Wisps of black smoke swirled around the armor, the lingering thoughts of countless dead souls of the Wulwan clan, and also the combined power of the thoughts of all living beings in the Huashu kingdom. The Taishu bathrobe surrounded him, shimmering with a deep starlight, carrying an irresistible pressure. Whoosh! Zhang Yi raised his hand and unleashed a sharp sword light. Like a black river hanging upside down from the sky, it strikes directly at the body of the boundless sphere. The tens of thousands of eyeballs in the boundless sphere spun rapidly, instantly condensing into intense beams of death ray. Whoosh! 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 Countless beams of light burst forth from the eyeballs, spreading indiscriminately in all directions. It seemed to know Zhang Yi's spatial abilities through the central hub of the Martian world, so it immediately launched a wide-area attack. When the river of the netherworld touched this black light of absolute death, they actually erased each other. This beam of light is enough to destroy everything. Whether it is living or non-living, or even the strongest metal, it will turn into dust under the beam of light, leaving not a trace. Zhang Yi could only feel that the temperature in the air rose sharply in an instant. The luster of the metal became dim, and all the breath of life seemed to be extinguished in this beam of light. Laugh. Zhang Yi was hit. The moment the Taishu bathrobe was hit, it even produced a blurry tremor. Zhang Yi could clearly sense that the power of the netherworld was being rapidly depleted. That beam attack is incredibly powerful. Zhang Yi was somewhat surprised. Theoretically speaking, the Taishu bathrobe is a combination of space and the dark matter power of the netherworld, making it more powerful than the defense of the myriad phenomena. Because both the absorption of space and the erasure of dark matter possess absolute restraint over physical attack forces. When Zhang Yi invokes dark matter, he needs to expend his own energy to guide it. However, the death ray of the boundless sphere was able to neutralize a large amount of netherworld matter. This will increase Zhang Yi's own energy consumption. Although the defense of the Taishu bathrobe is unbeatable, its power also has its limits. Simply put, the death ray increases his mana consumption. If he were hit tens of thousands more times, Zhang Yi's Taishu bathrobe might not even be able to hold up. None of the guardians of the Sand Raiders are easy to deal with. Zhang Yi's eyes were cold as he spoke in a deep voice. Besides being able to create illusions that instill despair, are their physical attacks also that powerful? He became increasingly interested in the technology of the Sand Raiders' civilization. However, this is just the beginning. Zhang Yi was forced to face the relentless onslaught from the boundless sphere. 10,000 eyes simultaneously fired beams of death energy, each beam striking him from a different angle, leaving no blind spots. Even if one activates the boundless realm, as long as one does not leave this area, one cannot avoid being enveloped by the death ray. Zhang Yi's alien energy is limited, but the source of the boundless sphere's power is the energy center of the entire inner world. After the heavenly Tao ring was destroyed, it clearly learned its lesson and decided to use pure energy to wear down Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi had no choice but to go all out, wielding the Sword of Judgment to counter every ray of light in an attempt to block these waves of attacks. However, his figure was quickly trapped in the gap between 100,000 beams of light, making it impossible for him to completely evade them. Ripples appeared on the Taishu bathrobe, and the surface of the demon god armor was continuously weakened, gradually losing its original toughness. The death ray obliterates everything, whether it is living or non-living. Even the demon god armor would be considered dead if it were hit. The E-metal alloy material turned into dark slag. Fortunately, the demon god armor possesses self-repairing capabilities, repairing itself through the tendrils of divine refinement. However, if it is severely damaged, the combat power boost provided by the armor will be greatly reduced. At this moment, Zhang Yi finally realized that these defenses alone could not completely defeat the boundless sphere. He needs to find a real solution. Simply relying on combat power is insufficient to overcome the overwhelming power of the boundless sphere and the suppression of the absolute death ray. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly, his mind racing, and a tactical route gradually emerged. His gaze returned to the boundless sphere, that enormous black sphere, with its 100,000 eyes like endless ghosts, staring intently at him. A cold glint flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes. He decided to unleash his true killing move. As his thoughts reached their peak, he realized that the boundless sphere was not invincible. Although it had many eyes, it was not without flaws. If the death beam is its blade, then I will simply redirect its attack back. Zhang Yi thought to himself, and without hesitation activated the boundless sword domain. Enter my arena. The eternal sword of judgment in his hand began to vibrate violently, its blade emitting a deep blue glow. As the light shone, the air in the surrounding space seemed to ripple, and an invisible force surrounded Zhang Yi, bringing a suffocating sense of oppression. The illusory image of the boundless sword domain gradually solidified, and the blue sword walls soared into the clouds. Thousands of energy swords floated in the air, like the walls of an ancient Roman Colosseum, completely sealing off the entire battlefield. The sword wall was incredibly sturdy. Any attack that attempted to break through it would be broken down layer by layer and swallowed up by the endless sword shadows. Trapped in this domain formed by swords, the surface of the boundless sphere flickered rapidly. No change in field energy was detected. No special spatial energy was detected. The battle continues and the original combat methods remain unchanged. The light from 100,000 eyes erupted once more, still indiscriminately attacking from all angles. However, Zhang Yi's fighting style changed. The reverse of all things. Zhang Yi let out a low shout, and the sword in his hand lit up again, its blade pointing towards the core of the boundless sphere. Chapter 26, 18 Death Ray 2. One after another, dimensional gates appeared in midair, like huge wall panels, quickly connecting together to form a cage that was almost spherical. However, this time, the myriad phenomena of the universe are no longer defended by having their doors facing outwards. Instead, the door faces inward, aligned with the infinity ball in the center. He reversed the power of the 3,000-dimensional gates, using them to absorb the attacks and energy of the boundless sphere and redirect them back to the boundless sphere itself. The countless beams of death light shooting out from the dozens of eyes of the boundless sphere were quickly guided out from another gate the moment they entered the dimensional gate, heading towards the boundless sphere itself. The speed at which it arrives is just as fast as the speed at which it departs. A full-scale counterattack. The earliest application of dimensional gates was to create a fixed passage between two doors by using the concept of a door. The energy that enters through one door will be transmitted out through another door. Tens of thousands of beams of death light, in an instant, reversed their polarities and shot from midair toward its main body. Space twisted violently at that moment, and every eye of the boundless sphere emitted a deafening scream. 10,000 beams of death light swept wildly, weaving a web of death in the air. However, upon their return, these beams of light were directed uniformly toward the body of the boundless sphere. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The death ray can erase the existence of all living and non-living things, including the boundless sphere itself. Snap, snap. The enormous, boundless sphere's surface metal rapidly turned black, then crumbled off like charcoal slag. Zhang Yi completely figured out its attack, and the huge sphere suddenly rose into the air, trying to escape into the distance. Realizing it could not defeat Zhang Yi, it chose to flee. However, it encountered a boundary. The boundless sword domain is a gladiatorial arena. Unless Zhang Yi breaks free of it or it defeats him, there is absolutely no way to escape. This was Zhang Yi's initial purpose in trapping it here, not even giving it a chance to escape. Zhang Yi stood firmly, his eyes sharp as cold iron. He drew his sword and slashed rapidly, the river of the netherworld meandering and trapping the boundless sphere within, forcing it to submit. If the boundless sphere doesn't unleash its death ray attack, it will be shattered by Zhang Yi. However, once it retaliates, it will fall right into Zhang Yi's trap. It frantically tried to escape, but could not find a way out and could only helplessly launch an attack on Zhang Yi. Eventually, the reflected beams began to strike the core of the boundless sphere. With each beam of light that fell, larger cracks appeared on the surface of the boundless sphere, and its structure began to collapse. Finally, a violent explosion engulfed the entire boundless sphere, and the originally massive black sphere completely disintegrated in the burst of light. The boundless sphere shattered completely in Zhang Yi's hands, and the 100,000 eyes scattered into nothingness. Its once powerful force also turned to dust at this moment. Zhang Yi stared intently at the gradually disappearing point of light, finally letting out a sigh of relief. Finally, it's over, he whispered, slowly lowering the sword of judgment, his breath slightly weak, but not feeble. He knew that although he had won the battle, the terror of the boundless sphere made him realize that the enemies ahead might be even more terrifying. If the artificial intelligence left behind by a lost civilization is this terrifying, it's hard to imagine how powerful the Sand Raiders must have been at their peak. Zhang Yi remarked with emotion. With the complete disintegration of the boundless sphere, the entire sea returned to tranquility. Zhang Yi took a deep breath and looked around. He could still feel the powerful sense of oppression in the air. Among the fragments of the boundless sphere, he found the second key fragment. When he put it into the alternate dimension, the two key fragments immediately merged into one. This is a key with a triangular structure. Only the last corner is missing. The aftershocks of the collapse of the boundless sphere still echoed on the sea. The sky over the entire world seemed to have had its brightness adjusted slightly, visibly darkening by one notch. The artificial corona, originally a pale white, was now covered with a layer of gray, as if it had been dragged from noon into dusk. The sea breeze carries salt frost as it blows in. The waves crashed against the broken metal reefs, creating hollow echoes that sounded like someone laughing in the distance, or like someone weeping softly. Zhang Yi hovered in midair as the Taishu bath robe slowly retracted, and the cracks on the demon god armor continued to wriggle and repair themselves. He looked up at the deathly still sky, his brows furrowing even more deeply. When he returned to the shore, Zhou Ke was the first to greet him. She looked him over and made sure he was only tired and not seriously injured before she breathed a sigh of relief. Zhang Yi, how is the situation? Of course we won. Zhang Yi casually flicked off a few fragments of the boundless sphere, strange substances that even the death ray could not completely erase, which turned into dull crystal powder upon landing. He removed a complete, broken crystal from the lining of his breastplate. The crystal had extremely fine patterns inside, like a corner of some kind of complex key. We've got the key, we just need one more piece to complete the puzzle. His tone was calm, but his gaze lingered on the unnatural gloom in the sky for a long time. Holding the dragon roar longsword in his arms, Liang Yu leaned against the half-collapsed tower base, gazing thoughtfully at the crystal. The attack method of the boundless sphere is indeed bizarre. It uses emotions to induce, illusions to force you to commit suicide, and the death ray to erase your existence. This doesn't seem to be an ordinary energy weapon. Although Liang Yu is usually quiet, as a martial arts expert, her sensitivity to combat is unmatched. The question she raised is also the source of Zhang Yi's current confusion. Zhang Yi nodded. I also find it strange. He slowly crossed his arms, pondering as he said, I sense the power of the rule system within the boundless sphere. The feeling he got from the absolute death ray was that it was a rule-based ability. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain why it was able to destroy the end demon god armor. An attack from an ordinary energy body would be difficult to even penetrate the Taishu bathrobe. Yang Xinxin paused for a moment, then explained, could it just be a kind of rule-based ability, essentially an energy reaction, only it looks similar? That doesn't seem like it to me. Zhang Yi shook his head, his voice lowering. The 7 emotions and 6 desires are what touch people's hearts. It's not just about interfering with the brain's electrical signals, but about triggering an instinctive despair when it touches the soul. That kind of impulse that makes you feel that taking a step back will bring complete silence is not something that can be written in a program. He recalled the endless despair he felt in that field, and his later roguish self-rescue, and a chill ran through him. Machines can only simulate humans, but they can never truly become human. But the boundless sphere feels just like a person with superpowers. Here we end today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina, a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises.